The scenario to be played is Destruction. It has a 12x6 rectangle placed in the middle of the board. It has the kill box in effect. You will then also place 2 objectives on opposite corners. You get 1 point for destroying or removing from play your opponent's objective. You get 1 control point for controlling the zone and 2 for dominating. First person to 5 points wins the game.
Hey guys, Lil-Pokey here. So I got Captain Bart with 2 Galleons because I'm cheesy like that. I got Ragman Snapjaw with a Bull Snapper just to kind of help protect the Galleons a little bit and kind of give it to the man whenever they hit him in the face. Then I got a Bokur to help protect Bart, and Ragman and Dougal to help out the Galleon.
Alright, so this week I'm bringing Captain Darius along with his Halfjacks, and in his battle group I have a Stormwall and a Centurion. I also have another Stormwall that's attached to the Journeyman Warcaster, and Sylys, Wyshnalyrr, and Eiryss the Angel of Retribution, or Eiryss 2. Alright, so as far as pre-deployment is concerned, really what I'm doing here is just putting both of the Stormwalls kind of central in the middle of the table. Not really surprising, but especially in a scenario like Destruction, you know, that's pretty much what's going to happen with your Colossals. Right here I'm putting Darius in between both of the Stormwalls, and I'm putting the Junior next to the one that the Junior is controlling, and the Centurion off to the side near my, on the side that my objective is, so he could maybe get that free charge from the fuel cache. Right here I think we're figuring out whether or not the Halfjacks start the game and play. It's been a while since I played Darius, so we're just looking that up to confirm, and I believe it's confirmed that they do, so I'm putting both of those Halfjacks down right there.
Alright, for my deployment, I was trying to line up the Galleons with the Stormwalls for an overall Colossal just battle out. I was putting Bart in the middle so that way I can get his spells on him, and so that way he was just more centrally located and kind of protected in between the Colossals. The reason I put Ragman and Snapjaw in the middle is so that way they can kind of protect Bart while still being able to put Spiny Growth on both of the Colossals. Then I just, for the most part, put the solos behind just to support and to have the Ogrun off to the side.
Okay, so since the scenario is Destruction, my plan is really to just jam both of my Colossals into the zone and use Eiryss to kind of crowd control my opponent's Colossals and hope for a quick win by dominating for 3 and then getting another 2 via domination the next turn. What Darius has done is he's cast Fortify on his Stormwall and given focus to the other Jacks so they can run. Junior has also cast Arcane Shield on his Stormwall, and that Stormwall is going to be running as well. Right now you see him run in. My Centurion, Eiryss, goes behind the forest so she can run in position to basically disrupt both of my opponent's Colossals next turn from gaining focus, and then I'm running forward with both of my Stormwalls. That trench on the right side of the board, if you're looking from my end, is also going to be really helpful for keeping my solos safe.
Alright, Mercenary turn 1. So as far as everything, my opponent just ran up the table. I'm trying to get a better foothold and better positioning for later on when we end up having this epic Colossal Battle Royale. I only allocate the 1 focus to the 1 Galleon, hoping that I could possibly do something to Eiryss with a couple lucky deviations. Unfortunately, with the order of activations that I did, I didn't activate Dougal first to allow the Galleon to reroll his deviations. I was really hoping to get rid of Eiryss this turn instead of having to deal with her later in game, when I really had to focus on making sure my Jacks had focus so that way I can actually do some heavy damage. But unfortunately she ended up living with a point or 2, which was kind of upsetting, but at the same point in time, you know, I can live with it. The next thing I do is I just activate the Bull Snapper and I just shimmy him up after putting Spiny Growth onto Snapjaw, which is +2 armor and D3 points of damage if he ends up hitting me in the face. Snapjaw just walks up and riles for 2, so that way he can be my meat shield, because that's what he's good for right now. Wrong Eye puts a spiny growth on each Galleon, so that way they are also at +2 armor and do D3 damage if I get hit in the face. Bart does batten down the hatches, which is an additional +3 armor to his battle group, and hot shot on the white Galleon, so boosted range damage rolls. And everyone else just runs up, so that way they can stay with everyone else and they can have some friends.
Okay, so my plan is still pretty much the same for turn 2. I'm just going to try to shove my Stormwalls into the zone and use Eiryss to kind of blunt the alpha damage. Right here you're seeing I'm using Sylys to upkeep Fortify, Junior's upkeep and Arcane Shield, and I'm giving each of my jacks 1 focus to run. One thing I did catch here is I accidentally gave the Junior's Stormwall a focus from Darius's focus pool, but it's something that we caught in the game and fixed that. So right here you see my first Stormwall on the left actually trampled forward and put down a pod. Again, the pod is just another thing to kind of hopefully prevent the other Colossals from getting into the zone. The second one did the same, and the Centurion ran forward next to the objective, again for a free runner charge if need be. I'm positioning Darius and my solos in the trenches as best as I can, and I'm spreading the Halfjacks out so they don't get taken out by blast damage, but I'm also putting them in the places where they can repair if need be.
Alright, so Mercenary turn 2. So he did kind of what I expected him to. Kind of clogged me up with the storm pods and had Eiryss kind of run up and make sure that I couldn't allocate any focus to my one Galleon. But I am allocating 3 to the top Galleon so he can charge and hopefully really mess up one of the storm walls. But first things first is I actually have to clear his path for his charge. So I am activating Dougal first, so that way he can use his quad cannon on the lightning pod. And quad cannon versus lightning pod, quad cannon will win 9 times out of 10 because you get 4 shots and they are decently lightly armored. Thankfully I end up killing it. Next thing is I have to clear Snapjaw out of the way, so that way I have my clear charge. And while I'm clearing the way, why not have a small little snack on this lightning pod? And I end up snacking on it and decide to claim it as mine in my belly. I rile him for 2, so that way, you know, I just have a little bit of fury for next turn. Wrong Eye ends up putting spiny growth on both Galleons again, so that way they have +2 armor, and if he does decide to hit me in the face, which he most likely will, since how we are basically saying hi to each other's faces, I will actually be able to kind of spit in his face and be like, take this, D3 points of damage, because, you know, why not? Every point counts and every point helps. Now I'm trying to figure out which Stormwall actually has Fortify and or Arcane Shield on it, because Fortify only gives them +2, whereas Arcane Shield gives them +3. So obviously I'm going to go for the lesser armored one. And the Galleon that I could not allocate to literally just tries to soften up the southern Stormwall, so that way I can have a slightly damaged Stormwall as I go into the charge. Unfortunately, I only ended up doing like a point or 2, but that was to be expected. I was thinking about possibly walking up with the Galleon, but in my final decision, I am charging, just because I wasn't 100% sure about the measurement to make sure I could actually get there by just walking. So I am just saying to hell with it and spent the focus to charge, and thankfully I did, because I wouldn't have made it if I didn't charge. When it was all said and done, I am clearing out half of the storm wall. I'm kind of afraid of next turn, because I know of Darius's feat, which lets him completely repair jacks as long as he is in base to base and or one of his Halfjacks is in base to base. So I'm hoping that I at least have a second turn to try to wail on him and try to finish him before he pops his feet. The Bokur and the Snapper just kind of walk out of the way so that way Bart can get inside the kill box and pop his feet. And if you don't know what his feat does, it is -2 attacks for everyone within his control area, and if anyone ends their movement within his control area, they are knocked down, which doesn't really affect the Stormwalls, but it affects everything else, which is actually really, really nice. So it kind of takes his support pieces out of play for a turn, which is really helpful. Then Ragman decides to use his magic bolt and kill Eiryss, which is really helpful and gets her out of the way so that way I can allocate focus to all my jacks next turn. And that is all. That is my turn.
So plan A didn't really work. One of the Galleons ended up getting into the zone, and now it's time to resort to plan B, which is that my big stompy robots kill his big stompy robots, and hopefully I win the war of attrition that way. I've allocated 2 focus from Junior to the Stormwall on Junior, 3 focus from Darius, and right now I'm keeping the Centurion 0 focus. 2 things to note is, once again, I do have the fuel cache, so that Centurion could get a free charge from that if he wanted to, and Darius has a spell called Jackhammer, and basically that gives me some flexibility in how I allocate my focus, because Darius can just jackhammer anything in his battle group and make melee attacks with that, as long as they're within 6 inches of him. So right now I decide to leave my Centurion on 0. As you can see, Darius' Stormwall kind of moves to the side and pivots, and is going to start trying to beat face on the Galleon in the zone. There are a couple important things that I really want to talk about here. The first is that Bart has popped his feet, and while it's not a huge, the knockdown isn't a huge deal, because for one I have Fortify on that Stormwall, so as long as Darius and the Halfjacks get into base to base with it, they cannot be knocked down, and as you know, Colossals can't be knocked down, period. It does actually hurt my ability to punch the Galleon. Basically, it's -3 to attacks, so it's making my Stormwalls an effective mat3, and that means I need 7s to connect with his Galleon, which, as you know, is a little better than half of the time. So, right now, I'm not really boosting any of the attacks, and I'm just hoping to get those 7s with each attack roll, and then do some damage right there, not boosting again. And as you can see, I'm taking some spiny growth damage from the Galleon, because Wrong and Snapjaw have put that on the Galleon from the Bull Snapper. I think right now I've actually not done as much damage as I would have liked to the Galleon, so I'm kind of considering what to do. I move the Halfjack first, just to take away a point of damage with Bodge, and right now my consideration is, how do I keep my Stormwall alive the next turn? Do I feat with Darius, or do I save it? And right now I'm thinking that the best bet is probably to repair that Stormwall a little bit and save the feat for an extra turn. I'm still hoping that I can kind of win the attrition war here, and one of the things that I'm thinking about doing is actually sending my Centurion in front of Snapjaw, and hoping that, you know, he blocks the way from the other Galleon getting into the zone, and he may die, but it's a sacrifice I'm willing to make. So right now, as you can see, my other Stormwall is actually trying to beat on the Galleon a little more to bring it down to 0 health, and I think I've actually killed most of it and only left it with a few hit points left at this point. As you can see, Junior and Sylys are kind of just hugging in that trench. That's where they're going to stay, because between hot shots and the range from the Galleons, I definitely don't want those getting sniped out, especially Junior. If he can get a beat on Junior and kill Junior, that's one less Colossal that he has to really worry about. Right there you see I put my Storm Pod out, again as another deterrent to get in the way of getting that second Galleon onto my Stormwall, and the Centurion just runs for free from the fuel cache.
Mercenary turn 3. So last turn was not very awesome for Cygnar. Between my feat of knocking down the Centurion plus having the Stormwalls at -2 to attack, they weren't really hitting too much and or doing too much damage because of my spiny growth. The little amount of damage that they did, I returned with spiny growth. So it was an even trade worth of damage, which is kind of helpful towards me. Ragman ends up walking forward and ends up using Death Field. So now both the Centurion and the Stormwall are now at -2 armor. So it makes it just that much easier for me to try to kill them. And I don't know what the Centurion did. I don't know if he pissed off the wrong people. I don't know if he walked through the wrong swamp. Or I don't know what he did. But Wrong Eye was super pissed at him and just decided to total him in one go. And it was both awesome and terrifying at the same time. It was just ridiculous. But with the Centurion gone, that will actually free up a big enough hole for the second Galleon to actually walk forward and actually start wailing on the Stormwall that is already damaged. And if I can wreck the Stormwall, that'll actually make sure that Darius cannot completely heal him with his feet. And if I do actually end up killing this one, he actually can't use his feet because the second Stormwall is actually under the Journeyman, so that makes him ineligible for the feat, which will actually be very, very wonderful for me, so I don't have to end up killing a Stormwall twice. It's already hard enough to kill it once. I don't want to have to kill the same one twice. Thankfully enough, I actually end up getting rid of it, and it kind of frees up the second Galleon to start wailing on the other one when I get to him. But in the meantime, I am walking up Wrong Eye and doing the same thing he's been doing this entire game, putting spiny growth on both Galleons, because if it works, why change it? Bart just kind of shimmies up a little bit, getting in the trench and putting 3 for batting down the hatches, so that way they're at an effective +5 armor between spiny growth and batten down the hatches, and literally the last Galleon just goes to work on the Stormwall. So either A, I can destroy it next turn, or B, I can start putting pressure on Darius.
So things really didn't go according to plan for me there. I lost one of my Stormwalls first. It made me think that maybe I should have feated a turn earlier, but to be honest, I was being a little greedy with the feat. So, you know, that's a good lesson learned. At this point, I'm thinking that I need to get an assassination on Bart. And since my Stormwall is dead and my Centurion is dead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move Darius up and have him shoot Bart with his gun and then cast a bunch of arcane bolts into him. As soon as I go to shoot him, I realize I made a huge mistake. And I forgot that the other wreck marker was not, in fact, a wreck marker at all, but his other Galleon, and we were just using that proxy base there just because it's really hard to get a bunch of, Colossals in a confined space. After that, I decided to just camp with Darius. I would activate Stormwall, put a lightning pod down, and remove Ragman, and in doing that, I actually realized that I meant to activate my, my little Halfjacks first, but, as you can imagine, having a Colossal there that you forgot was there, I got a little flustered, but my opponent was nice enough to let me retroactively go back and heal my Stormwall, so he was functional where he needs to be. At this point, you see me moving my Stormwall over, and right now that I know that the assassination is off the table, I'm just going to go and try and pound on that Galleon again. It's taken a beating for a couple turns, so maybe this turn we'll do it in. And if I do kill that Galleon, what I'm hoping is that my opponent either attacks my Stormwall and doesn't kill it, which will let me feat it back to full health, or he goes after Darius and comes up a little short. Surprisingly, Darius is actually pretty tanky when he's camping all 6 of his focus, and he has a ton of boxes, so you know, maybe I'll get through this, but I don't know. I'm not sure. So after I go through all of the Stormwall attacks, I actually end up leaving the Galleon on 1 HP. So I don't kill it, but it's just about crippled. I think this is my last attack on it, which again leaves it on that last box. At this point, I really don't have much to do, so I move Junior again into the trench to a safe spot, and I just kind of move Sylys out onto the hill to separate them and then pass the turn.
So Mercenary turn 4. So he unfortunately made a mistake thinking that my one Galleon was dead when it wasn't. He was trying to go for a caster assassination, but in turn he actually couldn't. So it kind of leaves him open for my chance to go for the caster assassination and kind of go for that slam dunk scoring. And I basically move my one Galleon out of the way because it literally only has 2 boxes of health left on it. It's literally just a roadblock from now on. As of right now, I'm just trying to get rid of that extra Halfjack that Darius has right next to him, just so I can make sure that both Snapjaw and the second Galleon can get in with Darius and try to kill him this turn. Unfortunately, with Dougal and his awful grenade, he actually ends up missing and not doing anything. But, you know, I'm not too upset about it. Bart ends up shimmying forward, and he's actually going to spray both of them, trying to do a couple points to Darius and also trying to get rid of the Halfjack. Unfortunately, I don't really do anything to Darius. I just end up killing the Halfjack, which is wonderful, because now that gives me enough space to make sure that both Snapjaw and my second Galleon can get in there. The only downside with Bart doing that is that kind of leaves him out in the open and kind of vulnerable to anything that might come his way. Wrong Eye activates, and he actually puts Spiny Growth on both the Galleon and Bart for the just in case if he needs it, even though +2 armor on armor 16 isn't going to do much against a POW 20 Stormwall Fist if it does end up coming to that. Snapjaw ends up coming up. He ends up doing a couple points of damage, but he doesn't really do too much, unfortunately. I was hoping he was going to do a little bit more, but he does it. And unfortunately, with me kind of being semi-unfamiliar with Snapjaw, I forgot that his tail had critical knockdown. So instead of just focusing on boosting tail attacks and hoping to knock him down so the Galleon can come in and just clean up, I ended up leaving him standing up and tried to go for more bite attacks, which ended up leaving Darius alive for the next turn for a retaliation.
So Darius just lived through that on 7 HP out of his 22, but you know, I'll take what I can get. So at this point, the plan is definitely to try to assassinate Bart, since he came up there to try to do some work himself. What I'm going to do is, since that Galleon is on 1 health, is I'm going to boost a Arcane Bolt into it, and boost damage as well, and hopefully it's enough to do that 1 point. Let's see if it works. So it looks like a hit right there, spending for the damage boost, and luckily enough, that's enough to kill the Galleon. So now we're actually putting the wreck marker there where it is. As you can see, Bart's pretty close to it, so at this point what I need to do is I need to move my Stormwall next to him and just pound on him. I have 3 focus, so I can boost the attack rolls on both of my fists and then the damage on one. I hit with the first one, and let's see what I do in damage. Spending one to boost that damage, because you know, you never know, maybe I can one-shot him. I don't quite one-shot him, but I do really roll fire on that roll and leave him on 2 HP. I take a little bit of damage, not that it really affects me, and then I boost my second fist with the last focus, hit again, and this should be game. Thank you guys for watching this last Mark II video, and I hope you guys are excited as I am for Mark III.